welcome to Policing TV and the hashtag #SheIsIPA. We are today at the IPA studio, and we are talking, or I am talking, with Tina Wallace from Thames Valley Police in England. Tina is a detective inspector by rank, unless she already been promoted due to her excellent way of policing. And I'm so happy to meet her because we met first time in Cambridge just a few weeks ago when she made a really wonderful presentation about her findings in that she done in her studies. But we will first start to get to know Tina a little bit. And as you remember, my name is Maj-Britt Rinaldo Ronnebro, and I'm from the IPA Sweden and supporting Policing TV. So Tina, who are you? And please tell us a little bit about your policing time.
So obviously you've already said it's really lovely to be here, so thank you for the invite and for talking to you on a Friday afternoon. So my name is Tina Wallace. I've been a police officer now for 27 years within Thames Valley Police, and from a very early age I've always wanted to be a police officer, but my circumstances prevented that, so I joined the Royal Air Force instead, and I was a chef. A terrible chef, definitely not my calling. I used to microwave everything, so I earned the nickname Bing Bing because you knew how I was working because everything was binging in the kitchen. So it was definitely not the role for me. But I was made redundant in around about 1997, and it was because the military were taking enormous cuts in resources and funding. And it was the best thing that ever happened because an opportunity arose for me to join Thames Valley Police, which was I was based in Oxfordshire, RAF Bryce Norton. And so I applied to join Thames Valley Police, and I wasn't sure that I was going to be accepted. Again, it was just due to my circumstances and my family circumstances, more to the point. But they did. They accepted me, and I joined Thames Valley Police in 1997, and I was based at a very, very small station in a real rural part of Oxfordshire. And I was really fortunate because I was the first young officer probationer there for about 25 years. And I was shaped, my career was shaped early by a group of officers. They were all male officers at the time, but they were all proactive officers, and they really wanted to help. And they were all involved in intelligence gathering and drugs warrants and things like that. So they shaped me early on. And I knew within the first few months that I wanted to take this approach within my career to proactive policing. And that was surveillance. So I was exposed to surveillance and undercover policing really early. So within those first 2 years, and I couldn't wait to get started. And that's what I've done ever since. So I've spent 25 years of my 27 years within covert policing. So primarily as a surveillance operative within counter-terrorism and serious and organised crime. But within UK policing, you can take secondary roles. So one of my secondary roles was an undercover officer as well, which was great. So it was two different types of jobs within covert policing, which is all basically about proactive policing. So it's crime prevention. It's often seen as a little bit boring, but actually it's really exciting because especially within surveillance and undercover, you're building the evidence up in order to prevent criminals from targeting victims. So that's kind of how I've always worked. I don't know any other way of working other than in support of pursuit of offenders. So that's really my career, and it's something I've been so passionate about, especially within this covert area of policing. And I've reached the top of my rank within this. There's nowhere else for me to go other than I could go and get promoted to a chief inspector, but I'd then have to step out of this role. But I find it so satisfying. I love going to work. Every day I love going to work because there's something different to do. And because it's quite a creative role as well. And we're only limited by our creativity, and we can apply all of these different ideas to crime prevention. So I love it.
Yeah, because if you found a place, and also when it comes to policing, I would say that it's a difference from every day. You never know what will happen and who you will meet, or and what will happen will be about that. Are you still in contact with these male officers that you met during the first years of your policing time?
Well, I still see some of them, but because they were all older officers, so much older towards the end of their career, where they'd been on drug squads, serious and organised crime drug squads. So they'd all retired. So they were shaping me towards the end of their career and just showing me about how to do things. And it's basic things like a plain clothes job, plain
Yeah.
clothes hotspot patrols, how to do that safely, and when to intervene, when to watch and observe specific behaviours and what they mean within the context of that environment. And that's how I learned from them. So many of them have retired and they're enjoying cigars now with their feet up. But what it helped me to do is, because I was one of the very first few females on the surveillance team. So when I joined the surveillance team in 2001, there were no females on it. So I was there on my own amongst this enormous group, large group of men, and it inspired then other females to want to go and join.
Yeah.
But men and women in within the surveillance arena and covert arena, there's equality.
Yeah.
There's not an equal balance of male females within those roles, because the role itself is quite demanding on your time. So historically, it doesn't happen now, but historically, as a female, you've made a choice. Do you progress your surveillance career, or do you have a family? Because it's not
Yeah.
conducive with having a young family.
Yeah.
And I chose the career because I really enjoyed it. Later now in my life, I'm fostering, so I'm a foster parent, and I always wanted that anyway. So I never wanted to have my own children, but I was happy to foster children.
Yeah.
But I did see, sort of like throughout my early years on the surveillance team, I saw it as my role to inspire other women to come and join surveillance, and it's been absolutely superb. And
Yeah.
on my teams at the moment, so I manage all 5 surveillance teams within my force, and we have got a really good mix of male, females within the team. And we're at a stage now as well where we can encourage women to stay within the team and still have children, because that's really important. Because if we don't do that, then women leave the team, and it means that we don't then have female leaders. So there's still few female leaders within the surveillance arena within the country. So it's really important that we get that right. But when it comes to the actual equality of men and women, we're all seen as exactly the same, because women, I would argue, and I'm sure some of the men will disagree, but women seem to make not better surveillance operatives, but we can get away with a little bit more, because criminals do not expect to see women following them. So
Exactly.
they're still a bit chauvinistic in that sense, especially
Yes.
sort of like the hardened criminals. So women can get away with a little bit more. So there's a real place for us, but there's also a real place for men within the teams. So it's a wonderful job. And if anyone was ever considering doing that, then I would absolutely endorse it, because it's been the best 25 years of my career.
Yeah. It's lovely to listen to you, Tina, because when you talk about these men that actually formed you into what you are today, they obviously were extremely positive to bring you into the team, and also to teach you like more or less like mentors, giving away everything they had learned through their own years in policing. And I can also hear that you are more or less that kind of role model today for other women joining this kind of work within policing. Because I would say that in policing there are many different professions. Because if you tell someone that I'm a police officer, they probably would see you in a uniform walking the streets or driving the police car. But women can be in so many different kind of professions within the profession, and you are one that chosen one that was at the time really a rare position within it, and I can understand that you've done very well. When I listened to you, and you talked about this with your family, I don't know how much you would like to share with us, but having this role now as foster mother, how these children, are they accepting that you are a police officer and like that kind of person with that more straightforward rules, for example, than might an ordinary parent would be? How is the situation?
Well, it's hit and miss really. So I'm not currently fostering at this particular moment. So we do short-term fostering, or we have done short-term fostering. And when I did my master's degree, I had to make the decision: do I continue to foster, or do I focus on the master's degree? Because as you know, it's quite challenging, which I think we're going to be talking about shortly. But the interesting bit, and a little bit worrying, so because I've never had children, I've never had my own children, but my partner's got 3 children from his marriage, and so he's already experienced. He's an experienced parent. So when we went through the fostering process, I was quite concerned, because I've never done this before, and there's no handbook, is there, to becoming a parent? You've just got to learn. But what the fostering team, because they knew we're both police officers, they were trying to give us the most difficult children. And I mean, when difficult, I mean they've had difficult life circumstances. And I found that really challenging because I'm thinking, at least ease me in gently. But so it wasn't really the children, it was the fostering agency that thought that we
Yes.
could deal with an awful lot more. So this is children who'd been abused sexually and physically. I'm not set up for that. I just wanted to start and ease myself in gently, but that was never going to happen. So it's been a learning curve, and
Yes.
I've relied on, actually. So I surround myself with really strong females within my organisation, and it's just because of the way it is. There's a real huge network of women within Thames Valley Police, and we're all really supportive of each other. So I would lean into them and ask them for support and advice.
Lovely.
But people, yeah. So the children, because I love children. There's a lot of children in I live in a very small village, and I've got 2 dogs. So I spend a lot of time walking my basset hounds because they're slow. So I end up standing around. And I love talking to children, and because they know I'm a police officer, I think they trust me a little bit more, which is quite nice. So they tell me things as well, and I'm thinking, well, okay. And they lean on me for advice, so it's good.
Yeah, lovely. Well, people, we are speaking with Tina from that, who is the detective inspector at Thames Valley Police in England, and she's been sharing about her start in policing and also what she done both for herself, for other children, and also for her family's children, but also for the work where she really been encouraging women into policing and part of the policing profession that wouldn't be as obvious for women to do. So come back. This is episode number 1. So come back and watch episode number 2, where we will speak with Tina about her master thesis that she just mentioned.